Now to the latest on the devastating flooding in the Ohio Valley. Rising rivers in Kentucky have forced people in several cities to evacuate. Severe weather has killed at least 24 people since last week, 5 of them in Kentucky.
A flood disaster swelling overnight as rising water overwhelms southern and midwestern communities.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be a little different from the kind of content I normally produce here. See, we recently had some major severe storms push through the south and midwest portions of the United States. In fact, we had multiple days of severe weather pushing through this section of the country, producing large hail, damaging winds, tornadoes, and of course eventually leading to massive flooding. This includes states like Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then eventually pushing off through into the East Coast of the United States. But I wanted to kind of show you my area of Cincinnati. This is where I live, around Cincinnati, and some of the flooding that I witnessed and saw, because it was insane. I have never seen flooding like this in my entire life. Of course, I grew up in Michigan where we don't get a lot of flooding. However, mainly around this area in here where downtown Cincinnati is, but then I actually drove along US 52, which is Riverside Drive here, into the east end of Cincinnati, following the Ohio River, of course, running into many road closures and just dead ends due to the floodwaters. So, but first, I wanted to share with you exactly what the area looked like before the flooding, so you can just get an idea as to just how much the river actually overflowed its banks, because it's pretty crazy. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll get into some of what I experienced during this insane flooding episode here in Ohio and throughout Cincinnati.
Yeah, let's go!
Indiana, Switzerland County, Indiana, Boone, Carroll, Gallatin, Kenton, and Hamilton counties in Kentucky. We got a very big, destructive, severe thunderstorm warning in effect. That includes CVG. So the Northern Kentucky International Airport, big time airport up there, is potentially about to experience 80-mile-per-hour winds as this big line of storms comes through. It's going to hit Manchester and Sparta first, then Greendale, Lawrenceburg, Aurora, down to East Enterprise, Jacksonville, Warsaw. It's going to hit Rising Sun over towards Addison, Florence, Union, Walton. This is going to be a damaging storm. We're going to see widespread potential downed power lines, tree damage. It will be extensive. We expect considerable damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles, and damage to power. Like very frequent power outages are going to be possible over here.
It's Sunday, April 6th, 2025. I'm over here in Covington, Kentucky, across from downtown Cincinnati, and I'm making my way down to the Ohio River to check out the floodwaters just below the famous Roebling Suspension Bridge. This was at the very beginning of the flooding because you can see it's still drizzling here, and it continued to do so off and on throughout the day. In fact, the river wasn't actually forecasted to crest until sometime the following day on Monday, April 7th, but they kept pushing that back, so probably more like Tuesday or Wednesday. Anyway, you can see just how far the water has crept inland. In fact, right below the bridge there is actually a park, and we can't even access that. It's so far underwater. But now we're going to head up top and take a walk along the Roebling Suspension Bridge so that we can get kind of a bird's eye view of just all of the flooding that's going on along the Kentucky and Ohio side of the Ohio River. So what you're looking at here, this is all the floodwaters that have pushed up into Covington, Kentucky, and back there where that road is, that's where I was standing when we first started out this video before I got onto the bridge. And you can see just how deep it is because these signs and statues have to be at least 3 to 5 feet tall. It was just crazy. This is the Smale Riverfront Park in downtown Cincinnati. That rail that you see in the middle of your screen, well, that is the edge of the park, and you can see just how far the water has pushed inland, and we will get to see a better overview of that shortly. So I thought I would take the stairs and head down into the park and see if I could kind of get more of a ground view of the flooding. But from this bridge, I can't even access the park directly. I'd have to go all the way to the end and then backtrack, and I didn't really feel like doing that because it was freezing cold and I was sopping wet. The road I'm crossing is Mering Way, and it runs along the riverfront and gives you access to all of Cincinnati's beautiful riverfront parks. Now, at the time of this recording, it wasn't underwater, but the following day, on Monday, it was completely submerged, and even now, it's Wednesday now, it's still closed off due to the flooding. I was really shocked when I took a look down below at the Ohio River and saw the massive amounts of debris just floating down and just how violent the river had become after all the flooding. It was really crazy. In fact, I could hear stuff crashing into the bridge below, which was kind of terrifying because it kind of felt like the bridge was going to collapse at any moment. I know it wasn't going to, and I didn't manage to capture this on video, but there were some pretty large chunks of stuff floating down the river, which looked like they might have been pieces of houses from upstream. It was crazy. Maybe even a car or two. This is looking back at the riverfront park over in Covington, Kentucky. It's completely submerged, and this is the park that I mentioned earlier on in the video when I said, oh, way out there underneath the suspension bridge is a park that we can't access. Well, this is that park. It's insane. Yeah, and those little poles that are sticking up out of the river, if I remember right, you used to be able to walk all the way out there. Now we're going to begin making our way east down US 52 to check out some of the flooding over there. This is the St. Rose's of Lima Catholic Church situated along Route 52 in the east end of Cincinnati, and it is totally flooded out. Now we're going to take a look at an object that I zoomed in that's way out in the river, and I'm not sure if that is supposed to be like a barge or something that's sitting out in the river, or whether that's actually flooded over. I think it's something that normally is out in the river on stilts, but I can't be 100% positive. This is the Schmidt boat ramp and ball fields off of US 52, and it's completely submerged as well. I did make my way all the way out to New Richmond, Ohio, but that area was so severely flooded, the police had it completely blocked off, and you couldn't get anywhere near there. So unfortunately, I couldn't get any photos or videos of the severe flooding there. That's going to do it for today's episode. If you'd like to see more content like this, then check out the links on screen and in the description box below for member-exclusive content. Thanks, everyone, and I will see you on another episode.